Hi there everyone, Josiah here with Womprat Creations, and welcome back to this week's, well not back to this week's, but welcome to this week's show and tell. I am going through and revealing my Return of the Jedi Boba Fett cosplay piece by piece. Last week I did the cod piece, and so I figured this week I would start with the piece that goes directly over that, which is this. This, if I can get this off, is a girth belt, which is actually used it's used in horse riding to cinch your saddle onto your horse. So the saddle goes on the horse's back, and then something like this would go below and then attached to both sides of the saddle, just to keep it on your horse. This feature is present in both the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi costumes, but slightly different, like everything else. This in Empire Strikes Back was brown, if I'm remembering correctly. It was like a dark brown. And then in Return of the Jedi, they made it this kind of burgundy color, which I actually really like. I think it's really cool. I bought this, I think off of Amazon, just as a undyed white girth belt. And then I used some fabric dye to get it to this really nice, kind of pinkish, purplish wine color. That's actually what it looks like. It looks like this was soaked in wine, which might actually work. Probably more expensive than using fabric dye, but I think I actually had to dye this a couple times to get it to the right saturation that I was looking for. And when you're dyeing fabrics, you need to be careful, because when they're wet, they will look darker. So just like most other things, you can always add more dye, but you can't, it's hard to take it away. And it can end up damaging whatever kind of fabric you're working with. So it's better to do a little bit at a time, let it dry completely, take a look at the color, and then add more if you need to, than to add a whole bunch in the beginning, think it looks right, and then once it dries, it looks totally wrong. I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, because this was a long time ago, I actually bought a cheap pot from Walmart for dyeing this girth belt, because I knew that it was going to be ruined after having dye in there, and I didn't want to use, my wife would have killed me if we used one of our actual cooking pots, but I went and bought a cheap pot from Walmart, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, because this is a synthetic material, I had to have it in like really hot water. So I just filled it up with water and put it like right on the stove, and then this sat in there for quite a while. But I'm actually pretty pleased with the color saturation on this, because of the just the type of material this is. It kind of allowed some gradient throughout, so it's not just all one solid color, which I actually really like. I think it adds a little bit of, makes it a little more interesting to look at. Whenever something is just one color, it's not very interesting. So I like that there's a little bit of variance in each one of the strands, and I like this. It's not something that I really picked out on Boba Fett before I actually started building the costume. And that's kind of the whole point of doing these show and tells and bits, piecing this all up into different videos, is so that you can get an appreciation for all the little pieces that go into a costume as complex as Boba's, and some things you might not have noticed. I know I didn't really, if you would have told me to describe all the pieces on Boba Fett before I set out on this, this would not have been in my recollection of pieces on Boba. So yeah, it's not necessarily the most interesting piece on him, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So thank you guys for tuning in for another show and tell. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Hey, thank you so much for watching that whole video. That really helps us out with continuing to bring you these cool videos. The other thing that really helps us out is our merch. You can head over to wompratcreations.com and pick yourself up some really cool stuff, just like this Visit Scenic Hoth Travel t-shirt. Thanks, guys.
517 to scanner control. 517 to scanner control. 316, report to control. 53 to upper bay door. 53 to upper bay door.